These are our final two sessions for the show. We're in the Hard Surfaces Seminar Theatre. We're continuing the sustainability theme, and we're going to kick off with a presentation about a new sustainable material, which you can see on the Material District as one of the materials featured in the Material District display over there. I'm going to leave it at Lauren's because I would to his surname if I tried to pronounce it, but he's going to explain how this new sustainable thin surfacing solid surface material came into being. Thank you, Lauren.
Thank you. Yeah. So my name is Laurens van Graafeiland. Indeed, the unpronounceable name for non-Dutch people. I must say. So I'm very happy to be here. I'm founder and CEO of Sustonable. So I'm trying to go and explain a bit about what we do, how we came about it, and what our ideas are behind it. So the whole idea of Sustainable came about out of our period at Shell, actually, where our idea was to find a nice recycling application for the plastic waste problem, the plastic waste that's being produced from plastic bottles. It's an oil-based product, so Shell had one of the goals was to find applications to recycle, reuse the PET waste, and actually one of the first ideas that we found was the engineered quartz, the quartz products made by, for example, companies like Sailstone, Caesarstone, those types of products, and a very successful product, mainly specifically used in kitchen tops, of course. Everybody knows that here. And the idea was, can we use this polyester resin? So it's a product, combination of a polyester resin and quartz. Can we replace that polyester resin by the recycled PET? So that was basically our idea. And we did a lot of research. We destroyed a lot of equipment in the in the process, actually. We found out, of course, that engineered quartz is produced in a batch process. There's a lot of waste being produced in the production to make a 12 millimeter product. You have to make 80 millimeter in the factory, so 6 millimeter of product is basically polished off and calibrated off and not recyclable. So we found out that our product is best made with a continuous process. So we have an extrusion process and it is very efficient. We make a nice thin slab, which is also very strong finally, because the PET has very good characteristics. So we use around, so we mix the post-consumer recycled PET with, we started with also with the quartz to combine it, and with our technology we can make a 6 millimeter and an 8 millimeter product. So, but still, there's the same strength actually as the thicker stone products. So it doesn't break easy, it doesn't chip, etc. And now we're also working on using more and more recycled materials, actually. So in the product it's like 20-25%, and we're going to use other recycled materials like recycled glass, etc. And now we're already went up to 70% of recycled content. So that is our other big goal, to reduce the use of raw materials, because it's a little bit of a shame to use those natural resources if you have a lot of waste, construction demolition waste around. So I hear quite a lot, of course, that the thick products are very popular here in the UK, especially. I also know in the US. But you see in Europe, like in the Netherlands, for example, more and more like the thinner products are also used. And you can make the same type of visual look of a countertop by using a mitered edge, which is very common technique. And then you can reduce the weight of a kitchen top by really a lot. So that is a big advantage in the installation, and also the carbon footprint is much lower. So that is, of course, one of our USPs. Finally, yeah, you see here that the production waste to make a kitchen top is much lower, but actually we can reuse it, this waste. So it's not real waste even. So of course, a new product has advantages and disadvantages. It's not exactly the same as a ceramic, or exactly the same as an engineered stone, or exactly the same as a solid surface material. So that's the big challenge for us to convince architects, bigger companies to use new materials. That's always a challenge, because yeah, you always want what you're used to. You know what you get, and you know there are no risks in it. So, or you know the risks. So that's why we call it circular design surface. Circular, of course, because we use recycled materials. We can recycle back the waste material, first in the factory, secondly the fabrication waste, and thirdly post-consumer material. If a kitchen top after a lifetime comes back to us, of course we need to organize it. We can crush it, grind it, and reuse it. We call it also design surface because of the sublimation technique. It's like a kind of a printing technology, but different. It goes in the top layer. We have a lot of design freedom with that, and yeah, it gives a lot of opportunity to very quickly make all nice natural stone designs which you like. And yeah, and on the other hand, of course, it's a surface material, so it can be. We make big size slabs, like the big ceramic slabs, or the big engineered stone slabs. So yeah, one of the drivers we really believe that can help us, you know, to convince the market to go and use more of these sustainable materials are regulations. Let's say both governments, businesses, and also consumers are more and more thinking about the circular economy. That's really important. You see big targets set by the governments. Okay, it's far away, 2050. But on the other hand, they also try to set intermediate goals. And this is really a driving force to change. And you see that companies that are building new offices or new you know, apartment complexes or houses are more and more looking into this. And actually, I've seen it also that the US also put this target now, 2050, want to be climate neutral and 100% circular. But in the meantime, also big target in 2030 already. What you also see is like eco design kind of things that they're now discussing to put real, let's say, requirements on interior design products or interior products to use a minimum amount of percentage of recycled content. So that is super interesting, of course. Another driver is this yeah, it's called the CSRD. So big companies need to report their ESG activities very well. That's already starting for the book year of 2023. So companies are more and more acting to showcase that they are working with sustainability. And another thing which I didn't put in here even is that carbon emission taxes are also coming on, and yeah, Netherlands is a bit advanced in that area. It's not directly put on the products, but indirect. You will definitely see it finally, that large carbon footprint intensive industries and products will have to yeah, finally put it in the prices, I believe. So they will be taxed for it and have to. This has to be compensated somewhere. So sustainable products can be finally also price competitive because of the low carbon footprint emissions. Yeah, then shortly, of course, I always like to show also the advantages. We have some disadvantages of the material, but the advantages are I like to showcase a bit more. Yeah, because it's a different product, using not a polyester resin, not a thermoset resin, but a thermoplastic resin, there are a lot of benefits. That it's thin product, it's very strong, it's a bit flexible, so it doesn't chip easy, those kind of things, yeah, which are super interesting. Finally, sustainability, of course, but also we believe it's quite affordable if you compare it to other stone-like materials like quartz or solid surface or even the higher priced ceramics. Yeah, one other benefit which is also interesting is that in the supply chain of the kitchen tops, what we see is that it's kind of separated, the big stone worktops and the kitchens themselves. So it's a separate, and that means that it always is a longer throughput time to install it and the customer, and means also additional cost. So if you look at some other materials that are installed and shipped the same time as the rest of the kitchen materials, we believe that can also be done with our material. So, and also because of easiness to cut it, adjust it on site, makes it a big advantage in the supply chain. So that yeah, can also be a game changer. Yeah, some other proof of that we've already gone a far way. That's even with a sustainable product, using recycled materials, you can achieve you know, NSF certification, which is important for the kitchen industry. We currently have one production facility, one production line. We can make around 200,000 square meters, so quite big. It's based in Turkey. We're definitely going to also expand our production once you know, the market gets us up and running to other countries like Netherlands and hopefully, and so in Europe and other parts of the world as well. So we have a strong partner in the Netherlands, kitchen top fabricator. They are yeah, quite big capacity. Yeah, I think these type of applications is mainly for interior applications. We are working on exterior, but many types because of the thickness and the thin product and the easiness to work. You can make all kinds of applications with it. So what are our next steps and goals? Yeah, we're now fundraising, so we want to set up a second line in Europe, preferably, because yeah, we have quite some interest here from north of Europe, and we believe that it's best to be close to the market. And we are definitely working on increasing further the sustainability. Finally, we would like to have a product which is using 90% plus recycled materials, and we will also work on a pilot project for reuse of a material. That's another, of course, topic you hear a lot in the sustainability. For that, we need, of course, an interesting circular installation system where we can take it off and see if we can, you know, reuse the material directly as for example, wall panel material again, for countertops maybe as well. But the first project we will start is for wall paneling to do that. Yeah, and then later, of course, yeah, we want to grow further around the world. And so we have here some presentation material available if you still have time. I think it's the end of the show, but anyway, it's can be interesting. In Pentagon tiles in stand G9, there is some of our material. You can see it. So yeah, I hope that gives a little bit of an idea.
Can I ask you some sort of obvious questions or difficult?
Yeah.
What formats is it coming in? Sizes?
Yeah, so it's now 80 centimeter wide, and we make 330 in length. But the length is quite flexible because we have like a continuous process. The width we are a little bit restricted, so maybe we can go a little bit wider, but that will be the next line. We're planning to go to 160, like.
Is that going to be extruded as well?
Yes.
Yeah. If you're a distributor and you're storing these, do they have to be stored vertically or can they be stored horizontally?
No, horizontally, yeah. So we ship them actually on pallets.
Because obviously that's one of the things that has slowed down porcelain in this country, is traditional tile distributors cannot store it as they used to horizontally. They have to change all of their racking across to vertical storage, and so it's a big investment. So if you're going to do it, you know, you can't do it straight away and you have to invest in it. and the big worktop people traditionally have always been, you know, like the wood and laminate ones. It's always been horizontal. So
because it doesn't also, if you have like a thin ceramic big slab, you have to really be take care in carrying it, I guess, with 4 people maybe, even if you have like a 3 millimeter slab or 6. Yeah, it's not the case with our material.
And how do you cut it?
Yeah, so with the we also like stone, actually, like engineered quartz. It can be done with like stone-based equipment. It's relatively easy, or or water jet cutting. Can also be dry cut, but of course, because if there's quartz in there, you need to be very careful. But if we have the product with not with no quartz in there anymore, can also be dry cut.
And if you're going to miter 2 pieces together, what adhesive do you use, or you know, how do you make the join?
Yeah, so it's a little bit different adhesive indeed. So we have different. It's a bit in between a solid surface adhesive and a quartz adhesive. So we are working with 3 suppliers now. So one of them is here, by the way. Yeah.
What do you have a lot of the people I've been doing the thinner surfaces are sort of selling a system. So they say use this substrate, use this adhesive, use this methodology. Is that an approach that's Sustonable adopts, or you know, do you say it has to be on such and such a base to be stable or whatever?
Yeah, so we worked a lot with the kitchen fabricator in the Netherlands. Dekker Zeva is there. They're really and they work with like a stripe format, strokes. Like they have a HDF material. It's also kind of sustainable. It's called green grids, and it's like a honeycomb structure. So they have like, you don't need to fully undermount it. You don't need to fully support it. So the 8 millimeter material for the kitchen tops can be supported only with, let's say, I think it's 5 centimeter wide or a little bit wider strokes, and they have like a stroke plan for that. And also, yeah, you can make then 45-degree edge. Yeah, the V groove. They have a V groove machine, but you can also just cut it 45 degrees with a 5x saw.
Are people making sinks and vanity units and stuff out of it?
Yeah. We also obviously it's with straight cuts, and yeah, we've made that as well. It looks super nice, and it's more affordable, I guess, than the quartz sinks that I've seen. Yeah, finally we can also thermoform our material, which will be a next step, like a solid surface. Yeah, it's also nice.
Can you use it outdoors?
Yeah, at the moment we don't think so, but yeah, there will be later stage. Yeah.
Fantastic. Well, thanks, Laurent. Thanks for your presentation, and thanks for coming.
Thank you. Thanks.
Our final speaker is Emilio Mudrak. He's here representing Iris Ceramica, one of Italy's biggest groups. They are the brand that is behind Sapien Stone, who are, I think, you know, it's fair to say, one of the pioneers in porcelain worktops, one of the most established brands. But the reason he's here is that Iris are, in my opinion, one of the big companies that's leading the way in sustainability. They are one of the 2 manufacturers in Italy that is actively trialing the use of hydrogen as part of their firing gases, but they do a whole load of other things. They're a very progressive company, but also a very commercially successful company. And one of Emilio's tasks is to kind of convince architects, particularly in the southeast and London, as to why they should use Iris. And he's he's very actively promoting the sustainability angle, which is why I invited him to talk to us today. So over to you, Emilio.
Thank you, Joe, and thanks for the very kind introduction. Probably the nicest one I've ever had, so that's great. Yeah, so thanks everybody for your time. First of all, as I mentioned, as Joe very kindly mentioned, I am Emilio Mudrak. I work for a brand called the Ceramica Group, which is a tile manufacturer based in Italy for production. We also have production in Germany and America, but predominantly it's based in the Sassuolo area, where all of the tiles from Italy come from, all from one town. So there's something like 150 different factories in a super small area. 50,000 people live there, 150 different factories. So as you can imagine, every factory has to try to be different. Since the Ceramica Group has started producing tiles, the sustainability element has always been in the forefront of their minds. They've been producing tiles since the 1960s, and it's always been at the forefront, as I said, of their minds. So they've been pioneers for the last 60 odd years, and I've just come here to talk to you a little bit about what we do in terms of sustainability and how we're trying to push the boundaries. So the factory, as a side note, produce porcelain tiles, so suitable both for walls and floors, in many different sizes, up to 3 meters by 1.5 in different thicknesses. So we have 6mm thick tiles, which is in our large slabs, also 12 and 20, which are predominantly for worktops. And then we do lots of other smaller sizes, like typical tile sizes as well. So today, I just thought I'd kind of give you a little bit of an overview about what the factory do, our plans for the future, different certifications that we have, and then also the different systems and technologies which we can implement within our tile range as well. So sustainable future. So since the beginning, as I mentioned, the factory is 60 odd years old, and since we started producing tiles, I've always been a pioneer of kind of re-engineering tiles to be usable within the environment which they're in. So they're kind of comforting humans in the environment which they're in. And the factory has this quotation, which is economy equals ecology, and this is from the former president and CEO, Romano Manozzi. That was his kind of quotation, where every decision that the factory make has to be based on these concepts. So you can see right from the very beginning, they always had this at the forefront of their mind. So asking these questions all the time allow them to be like a forward-thinking factory. So every decision along the way that they make has this quotation, which kind of leads us on towards a better future for both humans and also the environment today, and then also in the future. So we're part of the you probably would have seen it around, but the UN agenda. The Ceramica Group is a part of the agenda of and we're kind of tasked on 11 of the 18 different foundation like goals. Some of them being kind of pretty typical ones, so like affordable and clean energy, and the way like your responsible consumption and production, and you're graded on this. So Ceramica are very transparent with all of their different credentials which they launch. So the ESG has different gradings, and we are in the section what's called high. There is also a section called very high, but it's difficult for a tile manufacturing plant at the moment to achieve very high due to the nature of the way that they produce tiles, which is with gas. So we're at the top bracket in terms of tile manufacturing. Eventually, which I'll talk to you about later on. Hopefully, we're trying to move towards very high as we're changing our production over to hydrogen. Different certifications which we have. I know the guys that were talking earlier were touching more on that. I'm just going to kind of skim over it and give you a little bit of detail. But the way, touching back on what I mentioned before with economy equals ecology, having that at the forefront of their mind, naturally the way that we produce tiles allows us to achieve these different certifications without really changing much. Some competitors in the market change the way that they produce tiles to achieve a certain certification, whereas we have always produced tiles in the same way, always thinking with a more sustainable future, and that naturally allows us to achieve these certifications rather than trying to like pivot and work in a different way. These different certifications which I've been talking about, LEED and BREEAM, which is based on the reuse of materials within the production. Green Guard and also Green Guard Gold, which is based on the amount of VOC which is emitted by the surface. With porcelain tiles it's 0, so we achieve both Green Guard and also Green Guard Gold as well, which is specifically for the elderly and also the younger population. So we achieve Green Guard, which is one certification based on general population, Green Guard Gold, which is based on older and younger people with that same, with those same parameters. And then other certifications, such as EPD, which is kind of like a hot topic for us in the UK at the moment. Like a lot of the projects which I work on require EPD certifications, and the Iris Ceramica Group has this certification for all of our products, and that is based on a life cycle of cradle, when we produce the tiles, right the way through to the grave. Naturally, as you can probably imagine, once you install tiles, there's with adhesive and glue, etc., there's not really a lot that you can do with it afterwards. It can be reused in certain ways. However, at Iris, we're trying to develop a new system, which I'll talk to you about at the end, which I think could change the way that people use tiles in their projects. Cradle to Cradle Silver, this is probably the most rigorous in terms of like certifications and the different parameters that you have to reach based on the 5 different key elements which you see here. The material health, product circularity, as I mentioned, is quite difficult with tiles, but clean air and climate protection, the way that we use the water and the soil around, and then also social fairness. So Iris have been trying to work towards moving towards a gold cradle to cradle. At the moment we are silver, but we're again trying to implement certain things which will help us achieve that top level. Now, aside from certifications, we have different systems which can be implemented to the tiles after production, which allow it to be more green and sustainable for the environment around it. Now, one of the very popular surfaces. This technology has been around since 2009, so as you can see, way before the sustainable kind of conversation came around. This is a surface called Active, which can be applied to 90% of the Iris Ceramica range. It's applied after the production. So basically what we do is we produce a tile, and then we digitally print the active surface onto the tile, and then we refire it. Now, inside the surface, you have titanium oxide and also silver. And what that does is it reacts with sunlight and also artificial light to create an antibacterial, anti-pollutant, anti-odor, and easy to clean surface. So it's very difficult to try to explain what this surface does, but in a nutshell, if you can imagine the tile reacting with the environment that it's in to clean both the surface which is on it, but also the air around it. This is something which is painted into the Iris Ceramica Group. So it can be applied to all of our tiles, and it's a very clean way to kind of introduce this surface into projects. So as I mentioned, it's quite difficult to show, but we've done a couple of case studies which I think might help in terms of like actual numbers. In Milan, we cladded the buildings, a building which is based just outside central Milan, with a ventilated facade system, which had this active technology on the surface of the tile. There was 16,000 square meters of a ventilated facade porcelain tile on the outside of the building. And what we found by the case study is that the tiles, once reacting with the sunlight, cleaned 59 kilos of nitrous oxide around the building per year, per square meter. So it was the equivalent, or it is the equivalent, to 200,000 square meters of Greenland. So you can see direct comparisons between 16,000 square meters of tiles equates to 200,000 square meters of Greenland. So it's a great way they call it like a smog-eating building, because everything around it is clean. So that's a kind of a great way to show like actual driven data case studies. It also reacts and kills 99.9% of bacteria that hits the surface. So, you know, the topic is COVID, but also other bacteria which hits the surface. As soon as it reacts with the surface and the artificial light, it's killed off, and then once it's washed away or cleaned, job done. Naturally, these, as you can probably imagine, also lead to different green building certifications, such as well building, green gold standard LEED, BREEAM, etc. And then shaping the future. So we are at the moment introducing the world's first green hydrogen powered manufacturing plant in Italy. So at the moment we're installing 20,000 square meters of solar panels on the roof. And the idea is long term to be able to collect the rainwater which lands around the area, used and produce an electrolyzer. So the solar panels power the electrolyzer. The rainwater is then added to the electrolyzer and split into H2 and O. We use the hydrogen to power the kilns which cook the tiles. So it will be the first, hopefully anyway, if nobody gets there first, but the first factory in the world to produce tiles with hydrogen. At the moment, we're buying in the green hydrogen from certified suppliers. The reason for that is because there is no, at the moment, there's never been an electrolyzer built for a tile manufacturer before. So we're in the process of building that. And two, there's no certifications in terms of fire safety. So there's no regulations. If anything did go wrong at the factory, there's no fire safety. So we're at the moment working with local fire departments to create a protocol that if anything did go wrong, then obviously they would know how to work it. So you can see that it's very much in its infancy, but we are working towards producing with green tiles, because a lot of other manufacturers at the moment saying, yeah, super green, this is what we're doing, but potentially all words. So this is a great way to show that we're pushing the boundaries and we're working towards a more sustainable future. So I'll just run through like a few numbers here in terms of like energy consumption which we've saved. So from the production plant, we publish all of our numbers. Now, most of the other tile manufacturers in the industry promote the market average. So this is the standard norm. They use those numbers. Whereas with Iris, we present and publish all of our own numbers. Now, the reason for that is because we want to be, one, because we're lower, but also two, because we want to be completely transparent with the market. So when we publish things like sustainability reports, you can see the physical numbers dropping rather than just working towards the market averages. Things like between 2019 and 2021, we've saved 44,000 tons of CO2, and that's basically done by buying green energy. So that amounts to about 59% of our usage. So you can see that we are already quite a green energy using factory, trying to move more and more towards it. 2022 will be published within the next kind of couple of months, so we'll have that next report coming out soon and we'll be able to update these numbers. Waste. When you produce tiles, naturally there is some waste. We recycle and reuse the waste within our production, and this has saved us 56,000 tons of recovered materials. We reuse the wood, so wood is used 851,000 kilos of wood. Now that is via crates which we ship to Italian customers, can then be sent back to the factory, which we reuse to ship out other products. It's not done for other areas of Europe or the world, because naturally if you send something with wood, then we just use it within the Italian market for obvious sakes. Plastic, so we use about 101,000 tons of plastic, which is again like recovered plastics which we recycle and reuse to wrap the tiles, etc. And then water. Unfortunately with tiles, it is quite a water heavy production. At the factory we try as best as we can to clean, filter and then reuse the water. So we try to reduce as much as possible the amount of water which we're using. Naturally we do need to use quite a lot, but we filter, clean and try to reuse as much as we can of that as well. I remember the chap earlier talking about embodied carbon. We're on the process of working towards that. We have what's called a carbon journey at the moment, not an embodied carbon value. Now the reason for that is we don't have value scope 3. So we have scope 1, which is direct emissions. So you can see the number of the amount of CO2 that we currently use in scope 1, which is due to production. Indirect, which is used at the factory and the offices around, such as air conditioning, general electrical use. So that is the value of CO2 that we use there. But we're also working on scope 3, which is based around distribution, so transport, etc. That number will be with us by the end of the year. And you can see that at the moment, our carbon intensity emission is about 7.5 kilos of CO2 per square meter. Now that, as a kind of comparison, is about half of what the market average is. So market average about 15 to 16, and we are about 7.5. One system which is not in the presentation, which I wanted to talk to you guys about, is we have recently launched a magnetic tile installation system, which is I think maybe Joe might have seen it when you came to the showroom, but we have a new system whereby you apply a magnetic roll to either the floor or the wall, and then also to the back of the tile, and you stick the tiles to the wall or the floor surface via magnet. Now, benefit of that is you can take off the tiles and reuse them again. So at Iris, we're planning to, everything that we ship, we can take back. So after, I don't know, a few years installed, send the tiles back to the factory. We can either reprint onto the surface of the tile, or if we want to, then we can remove the magnetic system, break it down and reuse it to produce more tiles. So this kind of whole circular economy for tile production is, I think this is like a great way to be able to combat having to just glue stuff to surfaces, and then when you take it off, not really being able to do much with it. Finally, as I mentioned before, we publish sustainability reports every year. So this is up to 2021. As I said, 2022 will probably be out in the next couple of months. So we'll be publishing that. And then finally, the foundation of the Iris Ceramica Group. So we are actively involved in a growth strategy for commitment to like community and the environment around the Iris Ceramica production plant, which we can obviously provide more details on. But that is that. So thank you very much. Thank you.
Thank you, Emilio. It was pretty concise. Very good.
Thank you.
Just a couple of questions. Only obviously you're dealing a lot with architects, specifiers. Is there much demand for thinner material because of the kind of both the lightness, the cheaper transport, the less embodied energy? Is that something you're being driven by your customers, or is that being driven by Iris?
A bit of both, really. I find that it depends on where the installation is going to be. 6mm thickness in our larger sizes, so the 3x1.5, are perfect for wall installations. I still find the biggest hurdle for us is contractors in the market, because they are still nervous about using 6mm material in commercial floor spaces. Once the 6mm, if it's installed correctly, is completely fine to use anywhere. However, I've found that some of our material is produced in 8mm thickness, and the contractors still prefer to use that slightly thicker surface on the floors, and then use the 6mm for the walls and other surfaces, etc. So,
okay. Well, thank you very much. It was a cracking presentation. Thank you for coming.
Thank you very much.